Oh, yes. Welcome to Doug in Exile. This is where the happy patriots are. Part of why we're happy is because you just got to always remember Trump took a bullet and then he won. Trump was indicted 134 times and made a mugshot out of him. And the American people were consulted in a vote and they chose him over the Democrat socialist agenda that they think is going forward. That's where the battle in America is right now. Trump has announced he's pissed. That's not words that I used.
He called the governor a slur for people with intellectual disabilities.
Not on camera, but that is how Trump talks. We're going to show how on the Autopen, Trump is using the Autopen to rip away everything, including this could unseat Ketanji Brown Jackson, who was put into office with an Autopen. Watch this.
Welcome back to this special edition of Hannity. Joe Biden's legacy, it's officially in tatters. Today on Truth Social, President Trump made the following announcement, quote, I am hereby canceling all executive orders and anything else that was not directly signed by crooked Joe Biden, because the people who operated the Autopen did so illegally. Here now with exclusive reaction is the chairman of the House Oversight Committee, James Comer. Chairman, thanks so much for joining us. The committee issued a fabulous report. You did the homework, you did the interviews, you came up with the conclusions. And now to see the president take action, was this anticipated? I didn't know Friday after Thanksgiving he was going to do this, but certainly glad to see it.
Well, we didn't know when he was going to do it, but we sure hoped he was going to do it. I mean, the evidence is clear. I think you deserve a lot of credit, Jason. Your oversight project were the first to discover the Autopen was used that many times on that many legal documents. Then our committee began our investigative work. I want to brag on our oversight committee members and our staff for doing the.
That's President Joe Biden. They replaced his picture with an Autopen at the White House. And this was posted by James Comer. I know this is an older video from the 28th, which is 3 days ago. But James Comer just posted this again today on his Twitter account about 45 minutes ago, and that's why I'm replaying it. It's showing what their agenda is going forward with this week is they're overturning Joe Biden's Autopen decisions. 92% of his signatures were supposedly by the Autopen.
Positions we worked through the August recess and through the first half of the government shutdown to bring everybody in. And we gave everybody in the Biden administration an opportunity to explain what role Joe Biden played in the use of the Autopen. And no one could give a definitive answer that Joe Biden had any role whatsoever in the use of that. It's not, Jason, it's not the use of the Autopen that we had a problem with on the Oversight Committee. It's the unauthorized use.
That is the quote of the weekend. It's not the use of the Autopen that's the problem. It's the unauthorized use. And that's their claim, is that Biden staff and other people besides Biden made a decision to use the Autopen. If that's true, then none of those signatures have the presidential authority behind them if it does not reflect his will. And he's so impaired that how could you bring him before a judge and say, do you remember giving your will, when everyone already knows he's in cognitive decline? And so the prosecuting attorneys would say he should take a cognitive test, which he would fail. So they could not use his testimony in court. That's the big news, guys. They can't use his testimony in court to verify that he gave his will. The only other form of his will that would have was if they made any recordings that reflected his will. They don't have any. Any documentation, which is what you're supposed to do anytime you use an Autopen, you're supposed to document it and say, on this day, he gave his will. They don't have those documents. That is, everyone who they brought in and already testified under the brilliant James Comer, they've all said there's no documentation. So they don't really have a defense. So Trump sees it as an opportunity. He drives in, goes, I'm angry. How about we reverse every Autopen decision Biden did that doesn't have proof that it was his will? Prove me wrong. How about now he's going to force that he just flipped it on the Democrats. Now they have to try to prove him wrong that it does reflect Biden's will, and there's no evidence. They've already testified for the last couple of months saying no one has proof of that. There's no documentation that Biden's will. They did never take a movie of him saying, yes, release all those felons.
Of the Autopen. There was no evidence that Joe Biden participated in any of the meetings where the pardons were discussed. We looked at his calendar. We looked at emails. We brought in people for hours and hours of depositions. There were no communications back and forth. So the legal peril here isn't the fact that the Autopen was used excessively. It's the unauthorized use of the Autopen by a president that was clearly in mental and physical decline, and his administration tried to shield that cognitive decline from the American people.
They have no proof of his authorization. And there you go. I don't think they have the proof because they used it without authorization.
Yeah, it is stunning. Set aside the signatures on public laws. If you look at the universe, 88% of the time during 4-year period, evidently, the president, it appears, used an Autopen. And you're right, it's those unauthorized, because publicly the president had said, President Biden, that it was for people that, on pardons and whatnot. This is for people who had committed nonviolent crimes. But there were several people who committed violent crimes, murders, in fact, that were actually released or had their death sentences diminished. That's what's so stunning. It was a total, complete different than what the president was saying publicly.
And remember that piece that we did with Barry Weiss, who got purchased by CBS? She broke that story. We were first to put it up on YouTube. And that was when she interviewed Speaker Mike Johnson. And he gave a personal anecdote. He's a witness where he told Biden, you just signed this thing into law. And Biden said, no, I didn't. He had no memory, no recollection of what he signed into law. Speaker Mike Johnson should be Exhibit A. They should be using him as a witness saying, I have proof that something that was signed by an Autopen, Biden rejected and claimed he didn't do. To me, that is the biggest smoking gun against the Autopen. And I don't know why they haven't brought Speaker Mike Johnson in when he revealed it in an interview. I hope you guys can help me get this video to James Comer. We got to tweet it to him. We got to reach out to him and tell him, get that Speaker Mike Johnson video on Barry Weiss, where he gives the personal anecdote. He's Exhibit A.
Begs the question, did he truly authorize it?
Right. We never found any evidence other than the very last person we brought in, Jeff Zients, who I'm sure he communicated with everyone else that we brought in. He knew the questions we were asking. No one could say, yes, Joe Biden told me to sign this document with my name. Yes, I participated in a meeting with Joe Biden where we discussed this executive order or we discussed this person's pardon. No one, his inner circle, we brought in all of his inner circle, some of whom pled the Fifth Amendment, wouldn't even answer the questions. But those who did, other than Jeff Zients, the very last person, no one could say it. Now, we didn't bring Jill Biden in. Many believe she was the one that was making a lot of decisions. It doesn't matter. What matters, Jason, is that Joe Biden wasn't a part of the process, and the Constitution.
Jill Biden Constitution here.
Constitution is clear. No one has the authority to issue a pardon other than the President of the United States.
But do they have the authority to appoint a Supreme Court judge? No, they don't. Here's Trump. Any document signed by Sleepy Joe Biden with the Autopen, which was approximately 92% of them, Comer says 88% or 86%, is hereby terminated and no further force or effect. Well, it's funny because she also, Ketanji Brown Jackson, was appointed to the Supreme Court and was signed with an Autopen. Does that not invalidate her as a Supreme Court justice? Should not Trump appoint a new Supreme Court justice? Personally, I'm hoping he appoints B. Hizzy. Here's Salty Goat. Are we about to get a Supreme Court vacancy because of the Biden Autopen scandal? And finally, to the people that say boo of Pam Bondi, I got this quote. Pam Bondi drops a live bomb on TV on Fox News, just revealed what the mainstream media refuses to report. Are you ready for this? Homeland Security Kash Patel's already arrested 500 suspected terrorists since January 20th. They're all Muslims.
Working hand in hand with Secretary Noem, Homeland Security. Director Patel has already arrested 500 suspected terrorists since January 20th. We're working hand in hand with Pete Hegseth. And yes, we are bringing bringing in our National Guard to every city we possibly can. Who needs our help? And that's a lot of them.
So we have some acts of terror where the people do get away with it, but they've already stopped 500 acts of terror. To the people that say nothing's going on and Pam Bondi does nothing, they're, of course, passing on Democrat lies, largely funded by Saudi Arabian robots, programming us to think that so that Trump will get rid of the most effective attorney general in our history, most effective FBI director, Kash Patel, his most effective assistant, Dan Bongino. They're after the administration because it's effective. The Democrats are scared and running, and Trump needs to keep doubling down and giving them chaos like he did by saying, all of the Autopen, how about I run that scandal? All of them are reversed, and the Democrats have to go, quick, get our Boasberg-type judges to reverse all of whatever Trump is trying to say. So he's gumming them up. They're trying to gum him up, and the battle continues. Are you still in the battle? Are you praying for Trump? Are you praying for this country's future? My next video is going to be about how we're falling into socialism, and Americans are not angry enough. You and I are not fighting enough. I hope you'll stay in the fight with me by subscribing or join our membership. Membership's down below. We now have over 200 members. Happy patriots that support this channel. I'm Doug in Exile.